I try to get fired. But he told me, he said, Meegan, come here. He goes, you know why you're the platoon guide? I was like, negative, drill sergeant, and I wish I wasn't. He was like, shut the fuck up, listen to me. He goes, when you got a barrel of monkeys, you put a gorilla in charge. I was like, okay. He's like, so do whatever you got to do. I'm like, what do you mean by that? I was like, what?
Figure it out.
People act up.
Yeah.
Like, I'll close the door.
Yeah, welcome to the Big Texas Ordnance Podcast. I'm Ike. Co-hosts today are Ian and Beto. And then our guest today is Mike Meegan from Texas A&M ROTC program up there just down the road, kind of local to us. But so yeah, he's coming down from Texas A&M today and just going to chat with us for a bit. So I'll let you go ahead and take it away. Give us a little bit about like your background, kind of how you ended up where you are now, and just kind of give us the rundown on that.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you guys having me. First off, the setup's really awesome. If I had this setup, I would be a much more consistent podcaster. I'll tell you that right now, because doing those solo shows, man, you speak into the ether and you're like, is anybody listening? Does anybody care? Is it just me getting high on farts over here? No, I appreciate that. Thanks for having me down today. Yeah. So, hello, everyone out there. I'm Sergeant First Class Michael Vincent Meegan. I am the Rutter's company. Rutter's Rangers is a organization within Army ROTC at Texas A&M. Right. I am their Senior Enlisted Advisor. I guess that's the best way that you could put it. And that company has been around, since 1959. It's named after the namesake of James Earl Rudder, the university president and also the former commander of 2nd Ranger Battalion in World War II. Actually, hit the beaches at D-Day, all that stuff like that. So that's the namesake of the place. And for me, I take a lot of pride in that organization and what we do there. Obviously, we also have our Ranger Challenge team that is nested within the company as well. So I've been at that assignment now for 2 years. Starting year number 3. Prior to that, I was with the 75th Ranger Regiment for my entire career. Out there at the time when I was there, it was Fort Benning. It is now called Fort Moore. And went there in 2009 when I joined up, and never left until 2022. So I was there a while. I was there with Charlie Company, 3rd Ranger Battalion, and then across the street at Regimental Special Troops Battalion at Regimental Selection and Training Company, RSTC, as a pre-Ranger instructor for a couple of years. And then I came back to 3rd Ranger Battalion with Headquarters Company, and then finished out my time with Delta Company serving in the sniper platoon, and then with the headquarters element there before taking the position at Texas A&M. So that's kind of the synopsis, short cliff notes, of the career so far. Originally from Florida, so Florida man, alive and well here. You knew I was going to be a wild boy as a native Floridian. And married, got 2 beautiful kids, and I've been dragging them through the mud of my career ever since. But they're very supportive most days, and they allow me to play fast, as you say, right? They allow me to get in there and do what I do. So
how does that work from like going from the regiment and then to Senior Enlisted Advisor is that like did you pick that job or the Army picked that job for you?
So I did, actually. I'm glad you asked that question. So I got to a point in regiment where I'll be honest, I hit my limit of advance, right? Like everybody has their expiration date in that unit. And because of the small nature of it, right? You are probably about as likely to run into an active NFL player as you are to run into an active U.S. Army Ranger, right? So there's not so many slots, right? There's not so many slots. So it comes to a point where there is, a war and a competition for talent. And some people understand that, like yours truly. And I knew I was at my time and I wanted to still go and be impactful somewhere else. Right.
Okay.
And so in the regiment, at a certain point in time, they have a saying, right, or a charge to go live the charter, right? We're talking about General Abrams' charter, which was you were supposed to take originally your skills from the Ranger Regiment and then go make the Army better.
A better Army, yeah.
Right. You were supposed to go make an impact somewhere else, right? Now, early on, right, before the global war on terror, that's exactly what happened. People did very short-term turns in the Ranger Regiment, and then they would go and serve in other capacities, do those kinds of things. Well, the GWOT kicked off, and the regiment kept finding ways to make itself very, very useful. So they kept that band together for longer and longer, and now you're seeing, people able to stay in the regiment for longer amounts of time. But for me, I knew I wanted to continue to be impactful, right? I've told people this over the years that either ETS'd out of the regiment or PCS somewhere else, don't stop being a Ranger. Like, don't stop being a Ranger. Don't stop being what made you who you are and made you successful in this organization. Take it with you. Whether that's in the Army, out of the Army, whether you're coaching Little League, I don't give a shit what you're doing, right? Like, continue to be that guy, right? So that's what I wanted to do and really make an impact in a way that I thought would pay dividends across the force, right? And that, for me, is 100% ROTC. You get them while they're young, right? You're able to show what a good officer and NCO relationship should look like for the force, and be able to be impactful on them, right? Like, there's a lot of non-commissioned officers and enlisted guys complain about officer this and officer that, and this field grade fucking sucks, and this PL's clueless, Well, did we create that problem? I think we had a much bigger hand in it than I think, NCOs and enlisted might want to admit, because who was shaping them, right? Who was guiding them? Like, you're right. They don't know shit because they hadn't run into the correct non-commissioned officer to show them the ropes at this point, right? And so it builds that distrust, which hurts our force. So I wanted to go somewhere where we could get at that.
That's why you see, so many officers that go from, enlisted to officer side that are better officers because they were NCOs prior, or served XYZ as a E3, E5, whatever, before going to that officer side. That's my experience with it. And then you have the dudes that come straight to the officer side that have so much more learning to do because they've never experienced that before.
Yep.
So
100%.
Yeah.
100%. So yeah. And of course, if I was going to do that job, right, then, so if I was going to do that job at, Texas A&M just was the most logical.
Yeah. Most logical spot.
Most logical
fit.
spot.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't know anything about it. I was clueless, when it came to like cadet command, ROTC, any of that shit. Like, I don't know what the fuck's going on here, right? Yeah. But like, I knew that Texas A&M was prestigious, right?
Yeah.
Like you
before.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm a big college football guy too, right? So like, so
you're doing it for the free tickets.
Of course, right? Absolutely, 100%. Like, they're on to me.
Yeah,
I gotta go.
In fact, I'm not even in the Army. I just showed up to get the free tickets. I killed Mike Meegan. I took all his stuff.
wearing a skin.
But you would see the Corps of Cadets, and I remember, like, even being a young kid, 10 years old, you'd turn on the TV, see Texas A&M on TV. I always kind of dug it. Like, I always thought it was kind of cool. I wasn't like a fan they weren't my team as a kid, but like, you see the Corps of Cadets. I remember my dad saying, like, that's a military school. He didn't know what the hell he's talking about either. But like, you turn on and you see Dat Win out there cracking people. You see these cadets forgetting. I could get behind it. Like, definitely. I was down with it, right? So like, I've never had any ill will towards the institution. And I was like, well, if you're going to do it, then do it big. Outside of a service academy, Texas A&M produces, or commissions at the highest rate outside of the service academy.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what's A&M look like compared to like West Point, the Citadel?
Right. Yeah.
A&M.
So the Citadel and VMI and those schools are actually all in the same brigade as Texas A&M. It's considered a senior military college.
Yeah.
Because it has a core of cadets, right? So, so every branch is represented, and then they have a cadet corps within the college, which makes it a senior military college at that point. With Texas A&M, because of the sheer numbers and the sheer size of the Corps of Cadets, it's approaching 3,000 at this point in time. Wow, we've got somewhere in the neighborhood of about 600 in Army ROTC. Rudder's company starts off with 200 every year, and then we attrit down usually to about 130 to 150 for various reasons. Some people. Hey, newsflash! It ain't fucking for everybody, right?
Yeah.
So, like, some people go.
Are they going to Ranger School once they take commission right away?
Or
while they're at A&M?
No, so they don't do that anymore. They used to do that.
Okay,
used to be able to go to Ranger School as a cadet, but
why'd they stop doing that? Is there an interesting story behind that at all?
People sucked at patrols and they were there for fucking ever, So if you can't do it in like 2 months over the summer, you're kind of missing classes and shit, right?
Yeah.
So that's what it was, a timing thing. Yeah. So now, they'll commission, they'll go to their basic leadership courses, infantry I bullock, armor A bullock, something like that, right? Whatever they branch and commission into. And then, Ranger School may be in their future. Okay. For my infantry guys, it absolutely is in your future because there's new policy now that basically states you are going to be at Fort Moore until you get a Ranger tab or I break you, right? As the Department of the Army. Like
and that's all new commissioned officers are going to
infantry specifically.
Okay.
Infantry specifically.
Okay. Because they'll go to Bullock at Benning.
Yeah. Because done are the days of, infantry PLs that don't have their shit.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You'll be there until you get it, until you get broken, or they find some other use for you and you're going to go pro in something else.
Until you become a cook.
So, yeah, exactly. Right.
Motor T.
Yeah, exactly. So there's never been, honestly, a bigger premium on being successful at Ranger School. And so, shameless plug, Ranger U, right? That's my show and Instagram, right? Ranger U. Holla at me. And so, having done the time at pre-Ranger and now at ROTC, I had given these classes and these blocks of instruction over and over and over and over. And, probably pitched a raid class 200 times by now, and I started to think to myself, like, okay, I was young and completely fucking clueless at one time. I was reading through my Ranger handbook with no clue what that actually meant until the experience came along with it, right? And when you're a private in battalion, if you're not sitting in that locker reading your Ranger handbook and prepared to get the question that they're going to inevitably ask you wrong so they can fuck you up at some point in time, right? You became familiarized with that Ranger handbook, but you didn't really know what it really meant, right? It would say the performance step, but it didn't really explain it.
Yeah, you know the words, but not the message.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's the what, not the how, right? And so that's what I wanted to kind of bring. As an instructor, I believe that was our job, was the how. And then if we get to the real graduate level thinking, the why, right? So the what is there. I'm going to teach you how and tell you why, right? It's important. So I was like, hey, what would have really helped is like an audiobook that I could have like followed along in this thing. So that's kind of where Ranger U started. Like that's It's what I've done on the podcast side of the house. And I'll tell you 100%. I'll tell you this right now. I am the most inconsistent podcaster on the planet. I'll put one out. It'll be like 3 weeks. I'll do another one. A month later, I got this one. And then I do 2 in a week, and it's it's all over the place.
Yeah.
Because it's just the schedule. Like unfortunately, like I said, I wish I had something like this. I could talk to people about this shit.
Yeah.
See? It's just me.
Bunk up.
Staring at myself in the computer, not doing video because of
rambling on about something.
It's just,
that would be my problem. I would just go off on tangents if I was by myself.
Yeah.
Have to cut 4 hours of this episode off.
Definitely have to have the guided notes for it.
Actually, everything's redacted. I probably shouldn't release this to the public.
Yeah.
We're just going to delete it.
And blacklist.
Now, the good news is I have the Ranger handbook, right? So I'm sitting there just kind of, this is what this means, guys. Listen up, makes the show sound really boring. I try to do a decent job with it, but anyway, that's where that all kind of came from to start that up. And like I said, with the importance now on Ranger School, it's huge. And so at Rudder's company, we try to prepare them for future success, like beyond just the cadet command requirements, beyond just the cadet summer training requirements, trying to set them up for success that'll carry them through, their basic leadership courses, things like Ranger School, Sapper School, any schoolhouse that has some sort of patrolling in it, right? And then on, because if we want to get these great young men and women that we've spent the last couple of years developing, well, there are some gates to making it to where you want to go to really make an impact. And those schoolhouses are those gates. And so you got to get through that. So I think it's, important.
Yeah. How was your, personally, how was your transition from the regiment to your current position?
Man, going to get real for a minute.
Yeah.
It was, I would lie if I said it wasn't tough.
Yeah.
You're talking about growing up in a culture and being in a place for over a decade and then leaving it all behind.
Yep.
To not only, leave it all behind in terms of, the unit, the structure, the job, right? Yep. But also then all those relationships, all your buddies, all your friends, social media made the world
not the
smaller,
same.
but it's not the same. And then picking up from where like we are, like tribally affiliated, right? In the Southeast, like that's where we're at. Yeah. And then coming out here where you don't know a soul, right? You get into the gig, and, you just kind of, you have some like, Jesus Christ moments, you're kind of like, you kind of look around like, this is how they do it out here. All right. Okay. All right. Well, hey man, make a suggestion or like, and again, if I had not gone to Texas A&M, I would have probably jumped out of a fucking window. I'll be honest with you. Like, at least I was surrounded by the folks there that actually, they know what the deal is. It's a senior military college. It's a good crew. I've definitely seen some of the counterparts across the force from some of the other programs, and
not so hot,
not so much. I don't want to talk disparagingly about it, but I mean, fuck it. Like, let's be honest. You know what I mean? Like, there's a bell curve exists for a fucking reason, right? And some people are on this end of it, and some people are on that end of it, right? So, but it was, you miss the guys. You definitely I miss them a lot. I have, the group chats set up. We talk shit on there, holiday season, stuff like that, right? People ask me what's special about the regiment, right? What's special about the Ranger Regiment? And the answer is really nothing except the guys that's the most special thing about that place. Like the quality of soldier, the quality of human being for the most part. I mean, when we have fuck ups, we have big fuck ups, but like but for the most part, it's the best dudes it's the best life insurance policy that you could invest in, and it makes sense. Going to war. Right. And, the guys are fantastic. They're just incredible people. And it's what the Army should be, right? It's not, if you think it's like, the Expendables, like all this like crazy, sexy shit all the time, really it's not. Like the regiment just, we get back to the basics constantly. And yeah, we got sexy shit. You got sexy gear, like cool mission sets, got it. But it's all rooted in the basics over and over and over again. Because it's the only special operations unit that has lower enlisted, has privates, right? So it's the strength of the organization and the weakness, ironically enough. It basically means that we will always go back to the basics. You're always going to re-blue that.
Yeah, because you're always going to have E1s, E2s, E3s in that organization. So
there you go.
Educating them on your standard.
Exactly. Yeah. And it drives a culture of accountability that is fucking relentless, right? But at the same time, there's always going to be a glass ceiling too, right? Because of that turnover, right? And the regiment is a place that it's tough to get into. It is exponentially harder to stay, right? Like we will eat our own over there. So, and you gotta be a relentless competitor. You have to be incredibly disciplined. You have to be great at compartmentalizing things. You got to stay on top of it. And, if you don't, you will pay for it. It's going to show up. Right? Like you're not going to shoot as well as you could. That PT session's going to be harder than it should have been. Those kinds of things. I'll admit, there's definitely times where I was not the most disciplined guy. My buddies will tell you that. No secrets here, right? But found a way, made it work for the amount of time that I did, and I'm proud of that. Yeah, your average career there is about 4 years or so. So, it's like I said, it's tough on the body, it's tough on the mind, but it's a place that has to exist.
Yes, sir. So how'd you get into the regiment? Did you know going in that, hey, I want to be a Ranger, or how did that kind of journey happen?
Yeah, that's a good question too. So I didn't know anything, obviously, right? I didn't know anything. I love you, Mom. I love you. But she didn't know anything either. Like, you helped me out, get me in the Army and stuff. But as far as like that whole pipeline goes, you kind of got to live it to figure it out. Right. So Army throws around this word Ranger, a lot. Right. And obviously like, I'd seen Black Hawk Down, like everybody, cool, Rangers, and like Saving Private Ryan, Rangers, it's Rangers, but like you don't really totally know what that means, right? So when I went in, I had nothing to my name, right? So, peak Obama administration enlistment, right? 6 years. $3,000, no airborne, no Ranger,
no bonus,
nada, not shit, right? Fucking sign me up, right? So, right? My mom's like, get this motherfucker out of here, right? Like, no more SpongeBob at 2 p.m. in your underwear. Like, go fucking, be a contributing adult. Yeah. Right? So,
dude, there's nothing wrong with SpongeBob, though.
I do love SpongeBob, though. Well, I mean, at 20, it's not the sexiest thing. Right? Because I was going to play college ball, man. I was going to make it to the NFL. I was going to get Mom a house, You
were reading plays in between SpongeBob.
Yeah. I was going to do all that. And then, but then I had to go to class. Yeah. And that kind of fucked everything up. Right? Yeah. So, Army it is then. Let's go do this thing, And so when I went to basic at Fort Moore, I went in with nothing, right? thank God that I did come from the background that I did with my mom, who made me pass a PT test to the Army standard before I could even go to MEPS, right? So she's like, you're at least going to do this. And I came from a sports background, football, weightlifting, track and field, not so much track. And
your mom was in the Guard, right?
she still is.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, Ma, when are you going to get out? Just going to ask you that question. One of these days, right? She's going on like 40 years of like total service. I think she's about to hit 30 active here pretty soon. So yeah. So shout out to Mom Dukes. Like super proud of you, Ma.
Where's she out of?
So she is active guard in the state of Florida.
Okay.
Right. And she is, I hope I'm not telling lies here. She's the command sergeant major for recruiting and retention.
Okay.
For the state of Florida.
Nice.
So of course she recruited me.
So you stand at parade rest when you talk to your mom?
You know, it's just try to.
Mom, we'll talk about that
I
after.
I definitely called her Sergeant Major Mom before. You know, and it's all fun and games. But no, so when I went in, because I had come from that background, I just excelled.
Yeah.
You know, kind of like took to it like a fish to water.
Hell
you know,
yeah.
you go to basic. I'm sure, like you were in, right?
Nope.
No?
Just that guy.
Yeah, just him.
So you've been boot or basic.
Yeah.
Where are you? Army?
Army. Yeah.
Okay, basic. So you've been to basic. So you get there, you know.
It's a culture shock.
And people getting screamed at and all this stuff. I'm like, well, shit, my mom's screaming at me like this. You know, this ain't the first time I've seen a knife hand. You know, like this isn't the first time I've been up at the ass crack at dawn for absolutely no reason. You know, like I went through some of those things.
Yeah.
And then coming from the sports background, football, you know, like, you know,
helps.
coaches on your ass, all sorts of stuff like that, right? You could tell that there were some people that did not have that at all, right? And so you get in there, drill sergeant starts screaming, they start, you know, with the whole shit, and we're all running across the sand pit there at Delta 258 over on Sand Hill, and people are going down like they've been shot, you know, like dropping their bags and stuff, and, you know, crawling, no, leave me alone. Kids in the corner, you know, and I'm just like, okay, well, just get to the other end of the field, right? And you know, so of course the first night you hear people like.
There's just fart noises, someone crying, and somebody snoring on the other side.
So of course across the base, someone's like, "Man, shut the fuck up, trying to sleep, man."
100%.
Yeah. So like, you know, all the normal basic training stuff, but you know, nothing was hard. Like for me, nothing was hard. Like it was all, you know, whatever. So. While I was there, luckily I had a drill sergeant that kind of noticed that I was the platoon guide from day one to day last. I tried to get
you were
fired.
That guy.
I tried to get fired. But he told me he said, "Meegan, come here." He goes, "You know why you're the platoon guide?" I was like, "Negative, drill sergeant," and I wish I wasn't. He was like, "Shut the fuck up. Listen to me." He goes, "When you got a barrel of monkeys, you put a gorilla in charge." I was like, okay. He's like, so do whatever you got to do. I'm like, what do you mean by that? He's like, well, you know, I mean,
figure it out.
People act up, you know, whatever. Yeah. Like, I'll close the door. I'm like, oh my God, you know, it's just fucking. So anyway, from day one to day last, I'm the guy, and about a month before the end, we had a guy show up by the name of Doug Freeman. Doug, I don't know where you are, by the way. I haven't seen him since my wedding. So if anybody does know Doug Freeman, spent some time in the 173rd, 1st Ranger Battalion back in the day, you know, try to hit him up. I would love to know how he's doing. But he's from Texas, by the way. Anyway, he shows up and I see this guy. He's got a 175 scroll on, right? And I'm like, okay, why are these guys here? A couple of them showed up. They all had prior service patches. I didn't realize they were prior service people. They were coming back in, you know, had done some time in the Army. They're coming back in and they make them go to the last like 4 weeks of basic just to re-blue them real quick, right? And the drill sergeant Rice, he said, hey, there's an option 40 contract that has come available. It's from another kid that recycled basic training, so I don't think he's going to make it. Do you want it? I said, I don't know. I don't know what an option 40 contract is. He was like, it's a Ranger contract, dipshit. Do you want it or not? I said, yeah, I'll take it. That's how I got it. And Doug Freeman ended up kind of being like my mentor a little bit those last couple, because it was picking his brain, like, okay, what's it like? What's battalion like? What's RIP like, right? Because it was RIP, then it became RASP while I was in basic training. So went through one of the first RASP classes back in 2010 or so. So yeah, anyways, and that's how that ended up coming about. I didn't have anything. I was so ignorant to all of it. Talking with Doug, right? I was like, okay, it's cool. So as soon as I'm done with here, I go to Ranger school, right? And he's like, no. He's like, what are you talking? No, dude. No, you're going to go to airborne school, then you're going to go to Ranger assessment selection, and then you're going to go to battalion. And then if you don't totally suck and get fired there, then eventually you'll have your shot to go to Ranger school.
Yeah, because people don't realize, like, just you could be at the regiment for a while before you're even a Ranger. Like you're with the guys, but it's all learning that whole time. And then you go see if you can get your scroll.
Oh yeah. That's a whole education too.
Yeah.
Like I said, basic training wasn't hard. Airborne school was knees in the breeze. It wasn't hard at all. My first hard day in the Army was the day they picked us up for RASP. This van comes screaming into the place. These dudes, the van's literally like fishtailing into the parking lot, and the door opens and this guy walks out as it's like still kind of moving. I'm like, holy shit. And
like, what is going on?
yeah, I'm like, what the hell is this?
Shit
right?
just got real.
And they're like, why is this all fucked up? You got 10 seconds to get this place dressed right. Dress 10, 9, 8. And we're like, shit, like this guy's
like,
not playing.
Red phase again?
Yeah, right. And we're like, this guy's not playing, and it was very like clear right off the bat that this was not like a TRADOC kind of thing, It's like, this guy's in shape. He looks pissed. He's got a bunch of hair, He gets out, so fucks us up a little bit, getting us used to the new tempo at which things will be done. And right there, before we even move, he's like, who wants to quit right now? And it's like a couple hands go up immediately, right? He's like, get the fuck out of here. He's like, the rest of you guys, get your bags, get it on the back of the van. Doors open. We're like, and the van starts driving. So we're just chasing it with our bags, about a mile up to...
Oh, shit.
Yeah, about a mile from airborne school up to where they were taking us in at RASP. Just doing the bag run, and this particular NCO, he's running in like his duty uniform, just talking shit the entire time. Right. He's just like, you are fucking pathetic. He's like, hey, he's fucking soft body. This guy, tiny little heart, little bitch, like just run, and just running back and forth, just giving us the business the whole time. And I'm like, Jesus Christ. So we get in through the gate, do some more stuff, do some bear crawling, do, all sorts of fun stuff for about 20 minutes or so. And then he asks again, all right, stop. Who wants to quit? More hands go up, and I had a buddy that I had been basic, airborne, whatever, all through. He was right next to me, and he was like, boom, hand up. And I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, for real? I'm like, I thought we were going to do this thing, And I remember the pre-RASP cadre, because it was intake. So we weren't even in RASP yet.
Yeah.
We were just like, welcome. It was just like, it was the welcoming party. That's what it was. He's like, hey, you want to join him? Negative, sorry. He's like, then don't look at him anymore. He doesn't exist anymore. And I was like, okay, that's how this is going to be.
Holy shit.
So I got to do that fun shit for 5 weeks, and then RASP picked up, which was 8 weeks. Whole nother level of, like, just, it wasn't easy, pretty difficult shit. We started with 126 or so. We graduated 21 with recycles.
Damn.
Yeah, I think 18 originals and 18 OGs and like 3 recycles. So then I was like, oh, cool, man. I got my beret. I got my scroll. I'm the fucking man. That was like the last hard thing I got to do. And then I got down to battalion. Got a whole nother education. Like I didn't realize just how little they gave a shit about any of that. You know what I mean? And these guys were, coming back. I mean, these were the guys that were coming back from multiple Iraq and Afghanistan rotations by that time. And you get to the company and who the fuck have you killed?
Yeah.
That's like the question, right? That's the question out of the gate. Like, you know what I mean?
No one.
Yeah. Like, not a soul, and these were the guys, right? They were they're hard, like intimidate, like guys that you better come correct around those places. That's all I can say about that. Like that company area, like these were guys that were fucking serious about what it is that they did. And like I said, you need organizations like that. Borderline psychopaths, but you absolutely need those guys. And
big time.
And they really are, like I said before, greatest guys on the planet. But you got to pass the sniff test because like in a very short amount of time, they're putting their life in your hands too. Like everybody has to play that position. Like everybody, you all got to play your position. You got to know it inside and out, right? That's the other thing I would say that, when we talked about things that you miss from regiment, the guys, and you miss, for me at least, and I can't speak for other guys, but I would assume that this is probably true because I've had plenty of conversations with guys that have moved on from the regiment. You miss being the very best at what you fucking do and having that down to a science. You know what I mean? Like being in an organization where you know that you are in the percentile of the deadliest fucking group, force on the planet, at that time. Like a well-oiled, seasoned Ranger platoon I'm telling you guys, in land warfare, it is the deadliest fucking thing you've ever seen. Like they just leave shit smoking. You know what I mean? There ain't nothing left. Right. And, I miss that.
Yeah.
I do miss that. Like there are days when I'm like sitting at the desk, like, hey, we've got, casual Friday coming up. I'm just like, and I'm sitting there kind of like fantasizing about other things and like, oh, what? Huh? All right. Yeah. Sounds great. Awesome.
And what a great thing to bring to the school though. Like that background and that standard.
Yes.
To A&M, like what?
Rudder's company. We big on standards. Yeah. RC. We big on standards. Yeah. We're big on standards. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's a huge thing that like will help those, I don't want to say kids, but dudes and ladies going into that to have a background like that to look up to and know what they're getting themselves into.
Absolutely. And like I said, when I first got to the program, there was already a great foundation laid. Like, Alex Royston was there before, now over at AMU, like premier NCO, really taught me the ropes. We had Major Hebner, now up at Fort Cavazos, best officer-NCO working relationship I've had. And that's saying something because,
Where'd he go?
So he's up at the MIC pod up at Fort Cavazos.
What is Fort Cavazos?
Fort Hood.
Oh, okay. I haven't heard that one yet.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's Fort Hood.
Yeah. Okay.
They call it Cavazos.
Yeah.
Whatever. Cool. I'm down with it.
If you would have said that, I never would have known that was like,
what the fuck?
I would have had to Google that. I'm like, what? Where's this?
It's a great place, So they kind of needed an image rebrand, I guess. But yeah, he's up there now, and great relationship with him. And then the guys that I work with there now, Major Brightwell has been in the program a couple of years, great dude. And then was able to bring in another counterpart that will be, he's left seat, right seating with me right now. He's my understudy, but he will be taking over the program when I'm done there. It's Staff Sergeant Henson from 275. So he's from 2nd Ranger Battalion, mortar guy, super knowledgeable, young but very experienced, and I know he's going to continue to take it to another level. Like it'll grow. That's
awesome.
And that was the main thing, right?
Yeah.
That's what we wanted to do at that program, because it should be, you know what I mean? Like Texas A&M Army ROTC, that organization, it should be premier in cadet command. It just should. That's its position. And we want to try to keep that alive and well with the things that we're doing there, and challenge the other programs to
step it up.
Come get it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, come get it. You know?
Yeah.
And then there's a lot of good programs out there. I'm not trying to shit on everybody. It's just, I think I'm better, and I think we're better.
Yeah.
You know, and
you should.
I'm not going to apologize for that.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
So on rudders, how does that? Can you talk a little bit about that? How is it different from like the ROTC? Is it like a subset of ROTC, and like kind of how does all that work?
Yeah. So Rudder's company is actually a student organization. Funny enough. So it's a core organization, but it is affiliated with Army ROTC, which means that because they meet as a student organization, there are certain gates that they still do need to have to be affiliated with us, right? So they need to be contracted or contract seeking, enrolled in military science, enrolled in a system which is called CSIMS, right? And it's basically the honors program, if you will, for Army ROTC, right? Okay. We do additional FTXs, we have additional ranges, and I focus completely on tactics, marksmanship, soldiering skills, those kinds of things. They are still beholden to their Army ROTC curriculum with their other programs, their parent programs, if you will, MS1 freshmen, MS2 sophomores, MS3s juniors, right? They still have to do that, but as far as their labs go in the afternoons, as far as the FTXs go, as far as the ranges go, all that stuff like that, they do that with me, which then decompresses some of the other programs to be able to run their training a little more effectively. Because if you were to take all those cadets and then dump them all back onto, the rest of the programs there at A&M, like your span of responsibility and control, and it would get pretty crazy pretty quick, with all those additional bodies. So, and I'm glad that I'm able to do that job. Like, I personally feel like I have the best job in all of Army ROTC. Like, you're telling me that I get to teach tactics, marksmanship, and soldiering skills, and put it together in, as realistic training as I can try to provide. I don't have to go and teach about bugle calls or proper wear and fit of uniform, or, I don't have to get into the softer side of Sears of stuff. I don't have to talk about mill prop. I don't have to, you're telling me I just get to literally prepare, kids to be future war fighters, potentially, then I'm all about it. Right. That's why I wanted to do it. And Blake Connors, right. Like, good on, like, I'm forever thankful for him for having that inclination to bring me into it to do that job in particular. So super, super happy about that. And then also the stuff that we do with Ranger Challenge as well. Right. So, nested within Rudder's company is Ranger Challenge. So our Ranger Challenge team, like, Texas A&M's crazy about the pursuit of national titles, right?
Correct.
Okay, well, they're sitting on a back-to-back national champion. It's their Ranger Challenge team. Hey, A&M, it's your Ranger Challenge team. Back-to-back ROTC national title winners, ROTC Cup, number one of all 274 programs in the country.
Damn.
All right. And going, again, to pursue that for a third consecutive year, right? Got to take care of what's in front of us is obviously the train up first for the brigade competition to even qualify to go back and have a chance at doing that. We are oriented on that process. We're proud of the outcomes, but it's the process of getting there that we care about more than anything else, right? But I think they deserve a shout out because they're tremendous kids. They're incredible competitors. And if you go in a day in a life of our Ranger Challenge competitor, like our Ranger Challenge kids, nothing else really seems hard because like they're up well before the sun even cracks doing, you know, some grueling PT sessions as designed by the crew over there and Nate Young and the staff that we use for strength and conditioning over there with those guys. And then studies all day long, and then labs, and then, you know, when they're not doing those in official capacities, they're thinking about it. They're preparing for this next thing. No notice training pops up, you know, and they don't flinch. They really don't flinch. I'm incredibly proud of those kids. And I love coaching and teaching and training, and like coaching Ranger Challenge is awesome. Yeah. You know, like it has a little bit of everything, right? It has some aspects of like the team sport. So you got a little bit of like a dash of football in there. You got marksmanship training, you got military skills, you got some individual sport stuff, and it's all kind of wrapped together up into this one thing. Yeah. That's really cool to see it like gel and come together when you see the team is just dialed the fuck in and they are focused on that one singular thing, and they're in that flow of just kicking ass. And you're just like, man, this is fucking cool. Yeah. Like I love having that moment with those guys. Cause it's like, I just like, I absolutely love getting the most out of people and trying to get them to that spot, and the most out of myself too. But like, you know, if I can guide and train and mentor somebody to do, or a team to do, you know, along with everybody, not just me, like this is not just a me thing. It's far from a me thing at all. But us together, right. To be able to get to that level, it's special shit that people don't often accomplish or would even have the inclination to try. Right. So that's what I love about it the most.
Hell yeah. So on Ranger Challenge, what kind of equipment do they use? Is it just like all rack grade M4s, or like do you get, what's like the, I guess what's the competition look like? Yeah.
So, so yes, to your question about the M4s, it's just your standard military issue irons, backup iron sights, M4A1. The competition itself, right, is really interesting because you can format it kind of any way you want to, but kind of classically, it's a station sort of event, right? So you'll have multiple stations that'll be distances apart, you know, usually about a mile and a half or so. You start at one station. Let's say that the skill that they're trying to get at is grenades, like grenade throwing to hit a target, right? So they'll have the grenade popper, right? What they'll do is, instead of just throwing the grenade, there's of course some physical thing that has to happen in order to do that, right? So whether that's individual movement techniques, whether that's dragging a sled, whatever that might look like, you know, before you do that. So everything is under duress, like everything, right? And everything is time based, right? So you have your points, you know, you do well at the skill, but then it all kind of comes back to time and how quickly you move to the next. And then you have a timed movement. Oh, wow. Yeah, right, to the next station. If you get there first, you have a time reduction. If you get there last, they're adding time, right? So everything is driving that competition the entire time. And then, you know, it might be TCCC is the next thing. And there's a physical component to it. Shooting, there's a physical component to it. A rifle and pistol. Zodiac, right? Zodiac boat, small boat. That whole thing is physical. So it's just like, you know, take the fucking boat, go to the other side of the pond, get this shit and come back, right? But watching just it all come together, right? All the hours, all the reps, all the sets, all the time you spend obsessing over things from a player perspective, from a coach perspective, from a cadre perspective, and seeing it all kind of come together, and being on that shitty ass early morning flight back from wherever, but we got the hardware, like, can't hurt me at that point in time.
Yeah.
Like feeling good, and that's awesome. So I really do enjoy that.
Nice.
Where's it held every year? Or does it move around?
So the brigade competition, right, which is, again, our singular focus. We have to get that one right.
Yeah.
Right. Ranger Challenge is an all or nothing kind of game, right? So, like, it's not like baseball or football where you've got multiple attempts. You can have 2 losses, 3 losses, whatever. No, like, you got one fucking shot. If you don't qualify, you don't move on, right? So that one is held at Fort Knox because of 1st Brigade. And then if you qualify out of that one for the Sandhurst International Military Skills Competition, which is a mouthful, that's held up at West Point, right?
Okay.
Oh.
So that competition is like it says in the name, an international competition, which means that obviously there's teams from Sweden, Denmark, Canada, Mexico, Japan, freaking other places. I can't think of them all, but like
There's a lot.
There's usually about a dozen international teams.
Oh, wow.
Damn.
Then you've got West Point competition teams, black and gold. All right. And these 2 teams are teams that are specifically designated to compete at this every single year. So it is handpicked from the West Point population, which means they can requisition their Division I athletes if they feel like doing that, right? Which they do.
I was going to say, yeah, it'd be.
And then they have, in addition to that, if that wasn't enough, they'll flood the field with usually about 8 to 10 outfit teams. So you'll have about 8 to 10 other West Point teams, which are still fucking very competitive teams. I mean, they're like West Point cadets, right?
Yeah.
So in total, West Point usually takes up about 10 slots. Then you have the other service academies, right? So Navy will send a school. Air Force will send a school. Air Force is really fucking good. They train at altitude, so they're like a bunch of horses. And then...
What are they doing in the back of the C-130 at 20,000 feet?
Right.
Getting ready for the Ranger Challenge.
Yeah. They're in the hyperbolic time chamber. And then ROTC will send... I want to make sure I get this right, 16 representatives, because it's 8 brigades, 2 teams from each, your top 2 teams from each brigade. And 1st Brigade, the one A&M's in, along with the Citadel, VMI, Norwich, University of North Georgia, and Virginia Tech, are the 6 senior military colleges. There's 4 junior military colleges. Let's see if I can get them all. Oh, I'm playing a dangerous game. New Mexico Military Institute, Valley Forge, Francis Marion, and Georgia Military College. I got them all.
Hell yeah.
There you go. All 10
Round
of
of
them.
applause. Round of
This man-
applause.
I see you. Anyways, so those 10 schools will compete. The junior military colleges are there for the experience. They can't. I don't believe they can qualify actually for the event. So it really comes down to those 6. But that brigade,
those are big names.
Yeah, well, I was going to say that brigade, right, is like SEC football.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's like, okay,
Yeah.
we only got 10 schools, but these are killers in
Yeah.
here, right? And then you have the other brigades, which can have a ton of schools, right? But a lot of them are honestly just happy to be there, right? They're not like actually...
Hey, we're going to
going
win
for-
this year.
Yeah. Yeah, this is typically how it goes. There's usually one killer in each brigade that's pretty damn good. There'll be a rotational one that'll show up every once in a while, but the 1st Brigade schools are consistent killers.
Who are you guys? Like, so A&M's been going the last couple of years. Who's been the number 2 out of your division?
Us.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. We haven't won the brigade one
Okay.
in a few years.
Okay.
We're
who's been number
We're a
1?
second half team. Let's put it that way.
That's
We
all
like
right.
to show up at Sandhurst. VMI.
Okay.
Virginia Military Institute for the last 2 years has won Spartan Ranger Challenge. for the brigade and gone up to Sandhurst, where we have edged them out for the win.
Nice.
Don't mean to rub it in, but and then but they're a very good program, and then what was I going to say? University of North Georgia won it 4 years in a row. Oh wow! Yeah, before that they won not only Spartan Ranger Challenge, but they also won Sandhurst ROTC division. Now, when I say winning Sandhurst, I don't mean winning the whole thing. I mean out of the ROTC division, right? That's why they have an ROTC Cup. No ROTC program has ever won the competition overall.
Oh, okay.
Because that's the international. That's you got international teams and like
West Point usually wins it, right?
Yeah, except for Army Navy game.
Yeah, well, that's a whole nother thing. Good God, Jesus. Talk about. I invited people over for that shit. You know what I mean? It's like you invited people over to watch that execution. You're just like, oh my Lord. You know, I was sitting back. I was like, you know,
I fell asleep on the couch. I was like, fuck,
we're playing a dangerous game. I'm about to go down a college football hole, but I'm wondering if Army, for the first time ever, being a division or a conference champion, because they moved to the American, they played the week before against Tulane. I wonder if that cost them. Because
could have been,
you know, because they're like, oh, we feel good about ourselves. We're a conference champion. And meanwhile, Navy's like, you're going to fucking have it. I'm too tired of it. I'm just going to eat these guys alive. You know, should have bet on Navy. Like those seniors had never beat Army.
Yeah. That was huge. You know, it was a huge upset.
Yeah. So
they wanted it.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, the funny thing is too, like, I absolutely love football, and I know a lot of like the tactical community doesn't, right? They're not like big on it. They're not big on football, but they're like big on like tactics and like shooting and look closer, grasshopper, right? When you watch a football game, it is tactics.
All tactics.
It's tactics, right? Like you have lines of scrimmage, there's your base of fire. Trying to maneuver, get outside. You got a pre-snap look, scouting, right? You got the jock. They're upstairs seeing shit, calling it down to you. Like it is all
definitely
tactics. You are trying to out leverage somebody. You know, you're trying to maneuver on them. You're trying to create angles. That's also why I love combat sports. You take a look at combat sports. What are you trying to do? You're trying to create angles. You're trying to out leverage somebody. You're using your jab. There's your base of fire. Here's your maneuver piece. Set piece. I actually explain it to the cadets like that. I break it down to
this. Good way to look at it, though. Like I'm a Bills fan, and like,
boo,
shut up. Looking at it, like I've never looked at it that way before. You're like, yeah, like
I'll make a football fan out of the tactics guy. Where you just kind of sit there and you go, hey, look at this. There's patterns to this thing. Yeah. I'm a big pattern guy, right? I like to try to meet people where they are when I explain it to them. So when I talk about, you know, clearing through an objective and staying in your lane, I literally use the term like gap sound, like gap assignment, right? Like I'm not getting fixated on this target because it's the known, likely, and suspected what's out there, right? I'm not going to get fixated on this thing. I'm staying in my lane, kind of like kickoff, like a kickoff team. Everybody goes in here, they get outside, right? Yeah. Now we got issues, right? And then with combat sports, when I explain set piece and moving piece, I ask them, I say, hey, what happens if we have no moving piece and it's all set piece, right? Well, you're going to take a beating, right? Kind of like a boxer standing here like this. We're not throwing anything, right?
Like Tyson.
Yeah. And then if you have all moving piece, right? You got nothing to cover up with, right? So I ask him, I say, have you ever seen somebody win a fight by throwing a punch like this? Because I never have.
Ian, let me punch you like that.
Mike Tyson's going to come through the door and punch me in the head because I said his name.
Bite your ear off.
But you got that set piece and you got the moving piece, right? And it's, again, so like when we teach these things like bounding and breaking down the fundamentals of fighting, you have your security, you have your maneuver, you're trying to create angles, you're trying to limit your opponent's options while creating more options for yourself. And that's true in sports. That's true in fighting. That's true in fucking combat.
Yeah. I did a lot of Muay Thai and MMA and Jiu-Jitsu back in Pennsylvania, and it was always like a lot of super calm combat vet dudes, but they were always looking at it in that perspective of like a tactical maneuver kind of thing. And when you are already like in that tactical mindset, it's hard to not get obsessed with things like combat sports, football, when you look at them through that aspect. And it's really funny that you brought that up, because one of my mentors at my old MMA gym was very much like that, but in more of a jiu-jitsu sense. Yeah. But he was very much like that. And it helps open your mind to like doing moves and finishes and stuff like that, which is really, really, it becomes very, very obsessive when you look at it that way.
Because it's the pattern. It's true across
and it works.
Things, right?
It works.
And that's why that's why for Ranger U, my slogan is prepare for war, right? Like, it is war, like life, you know what I mean? Like it is, like it is like the same basic principles and fundamentals that you would employ in honest to God combat in war, you're going to have in life, right? Like every single day, just look for it, look for that pattern. It's there, right? Because like this whole thing is a war just to stay alive. Like everything's competition. Like was it Joe Rogan? It was Joe Rogan. I'm going to do the classic thing. It was Joe Rogan. What did he say? We're a bunch of monkeys on a floating space rock. That's like as savage as it can get. So how is it not war? Like every day, you gotta look for that pattern, right?
So your podcast, Ranger U, where are you out there, or like where can people find that? Yeah,
that's it's available on. I like to use this. It's available on all major podcast platforms. So
where podcasts are sold.
So Apple Pod, Spotify. Probably just Google. I've found.
Just Google.
I've found it on other things too. Like oh shit, I didn't realize these people. Have it as well. But yes, that it's available on all that. And then, like I said, we have Instagram as well. And
what's the Instagram handle?
It's r.a.n.g.e.r.u because I had to put a bunch of dots in there. I wanted to just put Ranger U, right? Just to make it easy. Yeah. There's some guy named Ranger U that has like 3 followers and no posts. God. I'm like, what the fuck is this?
What an asshole.
Oh, man, that sucks.
Yeah. It was like, damn, he bought that domain already, man. God dang, I got screwed.
Cough it up.
But yes, that's where they can find it. And like I said, I think right now we're sitting at like 23 episodes.
Oh, nice.
I got to put out more.
Yeah.
I got to.
It's hard finding time, though.
I got to get those numbers up.
Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah. Because as you know, you only have so many marbles, right? Like to put in each bucket, right?
Yeah.
So it's like by the time I'm done with the A&M guys and gals and the honeydew list and did I eat today? Gym. And then, I occasionally do like to lay next to my wife every once in a while. I don't want to be like, hey, honey, I'm going to go podcast for the 3rd night in a row. Again, even though she's got this obsession with reading these crazy magic dragon books these days and shit.
Wait, are you married to my wife?
They're all the same, aren't they? They're all the same. Everybody,
dude, 100%.
Was it? It's always like named like some weird shit, like a throne of glass and thorns or some shit. I don't know. I don't even fucking like who would want to sit on that? But
I got lucky. My wife. I got lucky. My girlfriend doesn't like books.
That's good. That's good. No, I was talking with somebody else the other day.
Dude,
they were
that's literally what my wife reads all the time.
I know, dude. And it's like, first off, this is smut. But secondly,
facts. I found that out. I was like, "What are you reading?" I was like, "What the? That's porn. Like, what are you reading?" Yeah. No, okay. I thought it was about dragons. Yeah, it is about dragons.
Like, you just keep those Barnes and Noble gift cards.
Girl, what are we reading? This is not the dragons I thought.
Oh my god! Yeah, it's like some guy named like Zayden. Like fucking banging all the chicks at the wizard school or whatever.
Yeah, it's 100%.
Whatever, dude.
Damn,
dude, your girl's gonna get on it.
That actually sounds kind of sick.
Dude, you better look out. You're gonna come home and she's gonna be reading one of those one day.
I know she's gonna see this and be like, "Actually, I do like books. As a matter of fact, here's a bag full."
Yeah. And it's like he was saying, it's like all of them, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Damn.
I can't read, so that's good.
Bingo. Easy.
Same.
Easy
That's why I
money.
listen to my books.
Yeah. Back to the audio books.
Yeah, it was like a quintessential thing happened. It was so funny in the moment. I kind of realized that she's deep in some chapter about somebody being deep in some chapter, and I was sitting there next to her. I was sitting there next to her, and I had the Ranger handbook.
There you go.
I was like checking on shit. I was like,
You're like,
did I
"Babe,
get
how
that
about-"
right? I'm like, how do I explain that better? And then like I kind of came out of it for a minute, and I'm like,
Honey, how do you think I should explain an L-shaped ambush to the kids?
Exactly. Babe, how about LDAs?
L-shaped ambush is engage 8 on Madden. Dude. You absolutely need to stop. When you absolutely need to stop. That's your L-shape.
Oh, shit, man.
Yeah. Damn.
Nice.
Well, dude, thanks for coming down and chatting with us.
Absolutely. I had a great time, man. I appreciate you guys inviting me down. I'm glad we could
awesome.
get on here and tell some truths.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
So Ranger U podcast, check him out wherever podcasts are sold. Use the Google, look him up on Instagram. Type in all the periods, and not the other guy that has 3 followers and no posts.
Yeah,
Not
don't
that
pay
guy.
attention to that guy.
Not that
Go
guy.
report him.
Fuck that
Go
guy.
report him.
Dude sucks.
We're gonna free up that domain for you. The handle.
Yeah, just abuse that guy.
Got to get on it. Got to get on it.
But yeah, anyways, like, comment, subscribe, share this, all that good stuff. Check out our buddy Mike here. I'm horrible at sign-offs. Luckily, we have Ian here, so I'm going to let him handle that.
Yeah.
Change your socks, drink water, and Beto, what do you got?
Oh, Uno
Holy
reverse
shit.
card here.
Yeah.
Uno reverse card?
Or skip, I guess.
Don't get caught in a linear danger area. I don't know.
There you go. There you go.
That's a good one. That's absolutely a good one.
Thanks, guys.